boy!
Santa?
Merry Christmas!
What are you doing here?
I'm just delivering presents with my elves and Santa's little helper. So tell me, little boy, have you been naughty or nice?
Well, I have made a lot of YouTube content this year.
A YouTuber who makes films!
More of a filmmaker who YouTubes.
Well then, how would you like a Pocket 6K Pro?
I already got one. It broke.
Oh, well then, how about a red Komodo?
I've actually got that too.
Ho, ho, ho! You're a very privileged little boy, aren't you?
Oh, 38?
Perhaps then, some vintage Leicas.
I actually just recently found a set of Leicas on eBay and, wait a second. Is this all just my stuff?
Ho, 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 ho! Oh, ho, 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 right, let's cut the shit. It's time for you to give to the needy. Me! So put your hands above your head and don't try to be a hero. You don't want to see how big Santa's sack really is. I'm serious, mother. I will blast your ass all the way back to the North Pole. That's right. Winter is coming. For you!
But without my gear, I won't be able to make content for my channel.
Ho, ho, ho! Just make a highlight show!
A clip show? Who's gonna watch that?
Oh, with the right thumbnail, title, and intro. You'd be surprised.
Hello everyone, my name is Guy Pigden. I am the Savage Filmmaker. I make feature films, web series and shorts, and I'm here to give tips and advice to indie filmmakers about how to make those things. Now, this is going to be a bit of a different video, a little bit more informal, where I thought I would talk a little bit about my YouTube journey, how I got monetized in just under 5 months, exactly how much I have made as a very small YouTuber in 2021, analysis of some of my biggest videos and why I think they were successful, and a couple of the large milestones that I've experienced and what I think about them. I also want to look back at some of the fun video intros that I've made in 2021 and talk a little bit about the process of making them. I also want to cover what some of my YouTube goals are for 2022 and generally just talk about my thoughts on what I'm now defining as the Savage Filmmaker Season 1. I'll be making a new playlist and supercut that has all of my individual intros if you'd like to go back and revisit some of what I've made through the year. And for those who are new here, you might want to go back and see what the heck I'm talking about. I'll put a link to them when it's ready up here. First, at the time of recording, it's Christmas Eve, and I just wanted to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I hope you get to spend time with your loved ones, and over the holidays I hope you're healthy, happy, relaxing and ready to pursue your filmmaking goals in 2022. I wanted to thank everybody for the support over this year with the channel, all the people who have watched, subscribed, commented or supported in some way. Thank you. I've been making movies for 20 years now, and I really wanted to explore some of the lessons I've learned in this space. I also wanted to bring people along for the ride with new content I'm creating, and wanted to hopefully long-term create some courses around that content, breaking down some of my methodologies in depth and help people develop their own content through that. So my personal YouTube journey started on the 4th of March 2021 when I did an unboxing video for the Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro. It was actually my DOP, Isaac, who films a lot of the shorts on the channel, who suggested I do this. Basically, I had got the Pocket 6K Pro by total fluke about a week earlier than most of the world, and he was like, dude, you have to make some videos about it before everyone else has it. This is the perfect launch pad. And I'd been putting off starting this channel because I knew how much work it would be. But that was sort of the motivation to actually start, because I thought I could build an audience from those like me who were interested and wanted to learn about using the Pocket 6K Pro. And I hope that people who started watching for the Pocket 6K content would follow me into other areas of filmmaking. I felt like there could be a lot of crossover, and so using this new camera to gain traction and then leading people into the work I do felt like it was a pretty good strategy. They call this content surfing or trend surfing, and more on that later. While to some degree I was doing this, I was also really wanted to talk about the camera and work with it and show people that process, because that's what I was doing. My first really popular video relative to my channel was my second video about rigging the Pocket 6K Pro before there was a proper camera cage released for it. Small Rig had not released their cage for it, neither had Tilter, and so people were trying to figure out how could we use the 1/4 screw on the top, and how could you attach some stuff to make it more film friendly. And I did cop some flack for this one, for putting too much weight on the top screw, but honestly I wasn't that worried. At this stage I thought YouTube was easy. I'd already clocked it. My second video was blowing up.
Laser.
However, the lesson I should have learned from making this video is that a good way to make a successful YouTube video was to find an answer or a solution to a problem that people are looking for and then solve it. And effectively, that's what my rigging videos did. So if you're thinking of trying to create YouTube videos that have traction and maybe you're struggling to find your audience, this is one of the simplest and most effective ways to do that. And now we come to my first video, which has an opening intro short to begin with, which is all about testing the audio on the Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro. Originally, I never had any intention of shooting skits for my videos because I was well aware of how time consuming that might become. And I just kind of wanted to provide value to my audience in the form of the information about whatever filmmaking topic it was that I was talking about. But what I came to realize is my favorite YouTubers are always those who educate and entertain in equal measure. And to this day, I think my biggest inspiration in terms of YouTube content is actually the angry video game nerd, for managing both of these so well. I also realized that a lot of people can provide educational content, but a lot less have the ability to tell stories and make things around that information base. And as a long-time filmmaker, that was actually something unique to me that I could leverage to stand out from the billion other channels that were much more popular. But that realization came slowly. At this stage, I purely thought of this skit as a one-off. So the idea for this short really just popped into my head because I thought it would be funny to do a Sergio Leone tribute with shotgun microphones subbing in for 6-shooter pistols. And I also thought it was kind of funny to be in a shootout with an inanimate object and me squaring off against the Pocket 6K Pro. The Leone spaghetti westerns, and more specifically his Dollars trilogy, are some of my favorite films of all time, and so of course I knew I'd get a huge kick out of filming this. The only problem was I didn't have a cowboy hat, so I had to borrow my girlfriend's hat, which was not a cowboy hat, it was more of like a bonnet, but I kind of figured if I wore it sideways and you kind of couldn't really notice. I filmed this using my Canon C200 as my main cam, and I shot it in my backyard. And this was, of course, when I realized how long it takes. If you're filming yourself, everything takes twice as long. And what I thought would take, an hour or two ended up being half a day. And by the end of the shoot, I was actually completely losing the light and running out of time.
When you're a one-man crew and you need to set focus.
The worst part of filming that shoot was that it was mosquito season, and I was just getting eaten alive down there, as it's the perfect breeding ground for mosquitoes. And in fact, there was a close-up of my hand that I didn't use where you can actually see a mosquito just sucking on my finger. The trickiest part of this intro was editing the last section with all the different cuts, as I was looking to replicate the famous shootout from The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. So I was trying to mimic the rhythm of their shootout, except my standoff was with my own camera. It was really hard to find a suitable music track for this, as Morricone's music is just so iconic that nothing really does it justice. What's funny about this video is that compared to the last video, it did very, very poorly. So I was really disappointed at the time, because I went to all this trouble creating this funny intro and then nobody watched it. But this is now one of my evergreen videos, so it just steadily accumulated views over time, and it's now one of my more successful videos. And the lesson for me as a YouTuber here is that sometimes it's not about your first few weeks, but whether people keep discovering one of your videos over time. And in fact, that's a lot better than something that is only watched for a couple of weeks. You know, you want to try and create content that people can come back to months or years from now, and for it to have the same relevancy. This video definitely reinforced the idea to me that YouTube is most definitely not a sprint, it's a marathon. Just because a video doesn't explode when it debuts doesn't mean you should count it out or perceive slow growth as any type of failure. My next intro short was done when reviewing the Pocket 6K Pro's battery grip, and this is actually kind of really, I guess, where my channel became what my channel is today, where I get way carried away with these shorts. And this was the first one where I'm playing both parts, and I remember just thinking to myself, wouldn't it be funny to go back in time as if I was talking about the Pocket 4K just as it was released, which I had also brought, only to have someone interrupt me from the present to talk to me about the 6K Pro, which had just been released in the present. And the problem was that I had actually sold my Pocket 4K at the time, but miraculously I still had the box of the Pocket 4K, which I could pull out. So I just thought this would be the perfect opportunity to do a time travel Back to the Future tribute, and I had the line, "Battery pack to the future," instead of "Back to the future," you know, as Doc Brown says it, and that was my ending. So I just had to kind of work backwards from that. You know, obviously the hard part of this was filming both sections and having it feel like my two characters are talking to each other and in the same space. You know, yes, I am just using a simple split screen, but this is actually harder than you think to get really convincing timing. You know, one of the issues was I had to leave the frame big enough to fit Doc Brown in as he bursts in the door, but then when I'm sitting down, I've got all this extra headroom, which is actually really bad framing, but I'm framing it for when he comes in. But I feel like it sort of worked out. Back to the Future is one of my favorite films, so even though it was even harder to film than the spaghetti western intro, I just couldn't resist giving it a go. You know, the Doc Brown and Marty McFly costume for this was also really expensive, but when I commit to an idea, I just kind of go all in. And you know, I've sort of had that philosophy my whole filmmaking career, is like never ever do anything by halves. Always do it to the very best of your ability, no matter what, no matter how ridiculous. You know, because I feel like that's how you actually generate something that's actually really interesting. So I thought it was a pretty fun way, and it turned out pretty well. It was difficult because the room was so small and cramped. It was actually really hard to fit the camera in to get the separate angles of Doc and Marty. So this is the close-up. This is the wide shot. This is my script, so I remember my lines, as you can see by this particular setup. Now we come to my first really viral video, at least by my very small YouTuber standards, which is my in-depth 1 month review of the Pocket 6K. And this is also the start of my videos often running in excess of 15 minutes, and in fact this is still, at the time of recording, my longest video at 38 minutes. But I was just really determined to cover everything about the Pocket 6K camera as comprehensively as possible, answer all the questions and fill in all the gaps that the larger YouTubers were not prepared to really dive into. And I spent so long on this video, even just filming and testing and doing all that sort of thing, not taking into account the sort of the Lord of the Rings opening intro. And this is where I take an idea as far as I can possibly go with it, you know, to the point that it almost drives me crazy in the edit. But I love the idea that the Pocket 6K Pro was like Bilbo's ring, and replacing that same scene and conversation he has with Gandalf at the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring, with this, you know, very silly filmmaking YouTube context. And being able to utilize the line, "my pockets," in the same way, was sort of the genesis for the whole skit. You know, a lot of my skits begin to form around one single funny line, and then I kind of build them out from there. And that's how this one also came about. You know, I also love doing a Gandalf impersonation. You know, if you actually watch Ian McKellen in the films, he's really hamming it up sometimes. It's just that nobody seems to notice, because we're all in this kind of fantasy world, and we're just like, yeah, I guess that's just Gandalf. You know, we'll always, so I just wanted to kind of pay tribute to all of that. I also wanted to film something that actually also legitimately showed off what the Pocket 6K Pro could do. So Isaac filmed it for me, and my longtime makeup artist came in, Julie Clark. She came over and spent some time, you know, helping me with Gandalf's look, and I spent another fortune on costumes. And we filmed this over sort of an entire day, and this is where playing both characters really becomes a time suck, because shooting the two-shot means having to essentially play both parts individually and then reset and then dress up as the other character multiple times. You know, the key to this skit was getting the eye lines right and trying to make Gandalf seem really big and Bilbo seem, you know, actually hobbit-sized. To do this, when I was Gandalf, I was like standing on a footstool, and when I was Bilbo, I was on my knees looking up really high. And in the two-shot, we put me as Gandalf much closer to the camera, and we sort of used forced perspective to make him look a lot bigger, which is in fact how they also did it in the Lord of the Rings trilogy a lot of the time. So this is, at the time of recording, my second most popular video with just under 15,000 views. Although it has been out much longer than my other two most popular videos. So it does have an advantage, but this is really the video that put me on the map and how a lot of people discovered the channel, and has led to approximately a quarter of my subscribers so far. You know, so how much has this video made me? Well, if we have a look here, it's just over $18.60 to date. For context, this is easily a video I put over 100 hours of work into. Now, to be fair, it has not been monetized for the same duration as my other videos. So when it was really popular, it was not earning from day one. But still, don't quit your day job. I think this is probably a good time to talk about getting monetized and how it happened. So I was monetized on the 19th of August, which means from March it took me just under 5 months to reach that goal. I have to admit that it can be very addictive to watch your subscriber count and view hours just increase each day or week, and it does seem like a really huge milestone. When you're a small YouTuber, I can completely empathize with how impossibly hard it feels in the beginning to even get to that point, and especially when you do it like I did without the aid of like a truly viral video. When I reached this milestone, I had no videos with more than 10,000 views, and you know, most of them were a lot less. I actually reached 1,000 subscribers quite a bit sooner than reaching my 4,000 hours of watch time, which I think is true for quite a lot of people when they're starting their YouTube. And it was extremely frustrating to see watch hours creeping up so slowly after already having 1,000 subs. Analyzing my approach, I actually break a lot of YouTube rules. You know, I don't upload a video once a week. There's no regular upload schedule. You know, they're always like, commit to consistency, commit to consistency. It's completely sporadic, and in fact sometimes I don't even upload once a month because some of my videos just take a very long time to create. And if a YouTube video takes me 80 hours to make, and I also work 40 hours per week outside of YouTube, even if I'm spending 20 hours per week on a video in my free time, you know, it's gonna take me, you know, maybe a month to complete. And, you know, one of my big lessons from this whole experience, and it's true of any form of filmmaking, is it's always gonna take you much longer than you think it's going to, no matter what. You know, that goes for the time it takes you to write the videos, to film the videos, and, you know, mainly to edit the videos. And let's not even get into creating thumbnails and all the other types of admin bits and pieces you must do around uploading a new video, because even that in itself can take, you know, a couple of hours to a day, just as you sort of mess about with that process. But the 6K Pro video has definitely informed my style, and I try and blend humor and entertainment with detailed information. I see my content as almost video essays rather than YouTube's more typical bite-sized content. And long videos don't do as well on YouTube, and of course take longer to make. But I feel that while they're not for everyone, those who take value from that extra detail and time spent really appreciate it. You know, also making longer videos is better for watch time, you know, provided some people make it all the way through that video. And it means one long video is the equivalent of 4 or 5 short ones. The chapter feature has given me a lot more confidence to take the risk in doing these, as if people can't skip to the bits they want, it would be much more of a difficult commitment for casual viewers. I also think that long videos are less often done because of the time and effort required to do them, and therefore they are more unique in this space. And finding ways to stand out is a very important part of, you know, creating a good channel. Long videos can also provide you more income, as there's more opportunity to run advertisements. Now, I know that we all hate YouTube ads, but they are really important in helping offset some of the costs, both monetarily and time-wise, in what goes into, you know, making YouTube content. And as Sean Cannell would say, I need money for the mission. So I appreciate your patience in putting up with them through the course of my videos. If my video is around 20 minutes, I'll normally run ads before and after and one ad break in the middle. If they're more like 15 minutes, I'll just run ad breaks before and after the video. Obviously, YouTube may put extra ads in that I'm not aware of, but that's the settings that I have. So, you know, that's where I'm sort of at. So to summarize, long videos are more time consuming, it's harder to retain an audience through them, and if one of them isn't well received, you've lost a lot more of an investment of time in creating them. On the other hand, they have the potential to earn you more, they will help you increase your watch hours faster, which leads to monetization faster, and they are a bit more unique. My next intro short was the Franken-rig Skit, with the concept being that essentially I was constructing Frankenstein's monster, except it's just my camera rig. I'm a big fan of creature features, and while I did spend another small fortune on costumes and props for this one, the skit itself was quite a lot easier to do than some of my other ones because it didn't have a huge amount of dialogue. This is also the first video which features my longtime collaborator, actor and producing partner Harley Neville, who plays Igor quite hilariously. And what I wanted to do with this short was give my Canon C200 a really fitting send-off and shoot something nice in Canon RAW light before selling it, as I knew my 6K Pro was going to be replacing this camera long term. And we had a lot of fun on this one because with such a short script, we had more time to get the coverage and visuals the way we wanted. It was fun to shoot in raw light, as most of my shoots with the C200 I would always avoid shooting raw to save money on storage and edit time. My girlfriend plays the corpse under the sheet. Between takes she was just on her phone under the covers watching things on her phone. We filmed all the assembly shots using the Canon 100mm macro. I really love the way this one turned out visually, and I think it shows you just how good the C200 is if you can put up with the difficulties of filming in raw light. Now we come to what was still probably my most difficult intro short, which is the Star Wars parody from the beginning of my C200 vs Pocket 6K video. And this was just an absolute nightmare because there was so much going on. You had me playing the Emperor, which requires an hour or so of makeup. Then you had me as Luke Skywalker, which took half an hour to remove all the Emperor makeup and then change to Luke. And then you had that Justin Bieber wig. Probably the less said about that, the better. It was just a crazy amount to do. And I had to film both sides of the conversation playing opposing characters and have a lightsaber fight with Darth Vader and get electrocuted. And it just took so long that we didn't actually finish filming probably till like 4 AM or maybe even later. And we probably started around 6 in the evening. By the end of the shoot, everyone was tired and over it, and also because we didn't actually have lightsabers, we were just flashing red, green and blue lights and miming a lightsaber fight, and I just had no idea if any of it would work. Luckily, one of my subscribers, Ben Kearney, who has his own YouTube channel, Boris the Blade, he is a super talented visual effects artist, and he offered to do the force lightning and the lightsaber effects, and he made them look absolutely amazing. So it's really thanks to him that the video exists, so thank you, Ben. And I also absolutely love playing Palpatine in this. It was so much fun. He is one of my all-time favorite Star Wars characters, and yes, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. How big of a Star Wars fan am I? Well, I do actually have a where is it? I do have a Star Wars tattoo. Yeah, I did that on my body. It actually came together to be one of my favorite shorts in the end, and it was just an insane amount of work. I also have to give an honorable mention to Travis McKenzie, who came and played Darth Vader. I'm 6 foot, and originally I was really concerned we wouldn't be able to find anyone to sort of tower over me as Darth Vader to my Luke, but Trav is a bit of a giant, and he sort of made it look super convincing, while having a lot of fun on set and being very patient wearing that suit and sweating through it all night as we filmed. The other part I got a huge kick out of was doing Darth Vader's voice in post. I mean, come on. Who doesn't love doing a Darth Vader impression?
YouTube has taught you well.
Now we come to the least popular video on my channel. And I think it's important to acknowledge the L's as well as the wins. And I absolutely took a huge L on this video. But this is how we learn. So this video is about creating the same look Zack Snyder created in his new zombie film, Army of the Dead. And I thought, hey, this is a topical film. It's just come out on Netflix. Everyone is talking about it. Let me show the techniques he used in this sort of low budget context. This will be really, really popular. Now, looking back, I think I made a lot of wrong assumptions here. First of all, I just don't think anyone cared about this Army of the Dead movie. And there's a good reason for that. It's not a good zombie movie. So why would anyone care how he filmed it? Or more specifically, why would anyone want to replicate the look of a movie they didn't care about? Also, the filming technique in question was just a little bit too specific and nerdy for a casual watcher of my channel. So I based a whole video around something that nobody had any interest in. And there's a great lesson in that, which is don't just make things that interest you. Ask yourself, will this video interest both you and your audience? And then ask yourself, why? before spending weeks on a video. You know, don't assume that all your subscribers will choose to watch everything you do just because you think something's a good idea. Although, for the record, all of my ideas are good ideas. Now, the shame in all of this is that we filmed what I thought was this really funny opening intro, the concept being that someone's girlfriend is a zombie and that zombie turns out to be the worst possible type of zombie. Now, great actor and friend of mine, Richard Lambeth, lent his amazing talents for this, and then Julie Clark did this amazing special effects zombie makeup, and my girlfriend made one hell of a zombie. And nobody cared. And I think that's another lesson I learned from this. You know, the amount of time that you spend making a video doesn't equate to how popular it will be. Something you put very little effort into can be really popular, while something you pour your heart and soul into can amount to nothing. And unfortunately, that is the cruel nature of YouTube. She is a fickle mistress. But I do encourage you to go out of your way to check it out and watch that short if you originally decided to give it a miss. Now we come to what I consider to be my favorite YouTube short that I've done so far, which is how to get the film look. Now, the initial concept for this came about because I was asked to review a plugin called Dehancer, which is a plugin for Resolve, which helps your videos imitate the process of being shot on film. And as soon as I started to use this program, I immediately saw the potential in both the plugin itself, which I now use all the time, and also an idea for the skit, which kind of expanded upon my previous Back to the Future time travel idea, with elements of another 80s favorite, The Breakfast Club, thrown in for good measure. This video took 2 days to film and is by far my most expensive video to date. New Zealand was on lockdown at the time, so it was very hard to get access to anything. You couldn't just walk into a store, so I had to buy all the 80s costumes online through Amazon or other places, you know, secondhand off places like eBay. The same was the case for all the retro props, like the computer and the posters and the old TV and the old 80s camera. But as always, when I commit to something, I just 100% commit. So the idea was to film all of this modern day stuff and then mirror each scene in the past using the Dehancer plugin to create a more vintage feel along with the props and costumes. And while this shoot was quite technical and tricky, it was really fun, and anytime I can include my love of the 80s in a shoot, you know, it's going to be very enjoyable.
Eat my shorts.
That might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Oh, I'm crushed.
You know, we filmed this one on the Red Gemini to put it through its paces because my DOP had recently acquired it and he wanted to sort of test it out. And, you know, not only, you know, was I very happy with the way it turned out, but the Dehancer team who make the plugin are now featuring the review on their website, which is an excellent outcome and a testament to the work we put in making it. I look forward to the day that I can create these types of shorts that are actually commissioned by brands. I also really do believe in the plugin itself, and I think it's an excellent tool. So if you like what you see in that skit, use my promo code in the description to get a 10% discount. Now let's talk about my two most successful videos and what that means in financial terms and why I think they are a success. These videos both deal with the Mac M1s. Now, when I did my first review of the original Mac M1 a few months ago, I quickly realized that people are very eager for content about these computers. And in fact, some YouTubers have kind of based their entire channels around just talking about these Mac M1s exclusively. After that initial M1 review, I decided to take some sound YouTube content creator advice, which is this. If you create something successful that strikes a chord with your audience and resonates with them, try and replicate it. It seems very simple, but sometimes I don't. I just try and think of something different each time because I'm trying to amuse myself. I decided to put this piece of advice into action. So this led to my most popular video to date, which is the Mac M1 Explained. And I put this together over 14 hours on the day that the new computers were announced. It hit the algorithm due to the surge in interest. So, you know, how much does a video like this actually earn me? Take a guess. To date, my most popular video has made $108 US from about 16,500 views. But as this was, you know, really a trend surfing video, while it was really popular for a few days, after just over a week, it had completely died. You know, this is an example of reacting to a trend and my speed in doing so, because the key reason it performed so well was because I got it up so quickly when people were really interested in it. And I began writing the video immediately after the new M1 details were released by Apple, and I didn't really stop working on it until the video was ready for upload. And I knew if I didn't get the video up in time, other people would have just done, you know, basically the same thing, and the video would be irrelevant. So the information it provided was helpful, but people were only interested in that information for a small window of time. I was very happy with the response to it, but from an overall perspective, $108, even just for a 14-hour day of work, which is one of the shortest amounts of time I've spent on a video, is actually not a very good hourly rate. So what I really wasn't happy with is that my most viewed video I don't think accurately represented me or my channel. It had that educational element, but not the entertainment value. And so in my follow-up video, I wanted to bring back that element of entertainment and do a really fun short that is a better indication of the type of content you get from the Savage Filmmaker. So I decided to do a buyer's guide for the M1 Max, and again, going back to the first way to gain traction as a YouTuber, I was looking to solve a problem for a group of people. I tried to make a buyer's guide both as simple and as in-depth as possible in explaining which Mac you should pick based on your work requirements. And there are a lot of M1 videos out, but none of them really comprehensively answered this question. Or if they did, they didn't do so in a very easy to understand manner. So I saw a question/problem, and then I looked to provide the answer/solution. But this time I filmed an intro based on the difficulty in choosing an M1, and I think the video really captured the zeitgeist of how people were feeling when trying to make a decision, as Apple had provided so many different M1 configurations and options in their release of these computers that for people trying to choose, it was completely overwhelming. So that's what the skit was about. So we filmed this on my Red Komodo, and with all of our shorts, when Isaac and I film, we like to try and introduce a new element that we have not done in a previous short. So in this case, we filmed on vintage Leica lenses, and there'll be more about that in an upcoming video. And I also used a slider to introduce a bit more movement into the film. And we also used some green screen. What I love about this skit, and what makes it for me personally, is the Steve Jobs dream sequence and the Space Odyssey parody. Stanley Kubrick is my all-time favorite director, so paying tribute to him is always a thrill. And this was a very late addition to the script, but sometimes these spontaneous ideas wind up being the most fun to do. And this was not as popular as my first M1 Explained video, but I'm much happier with it, because to me this is much more what my channel is about, with a lot more entertainment value. If I reflect back on why this video was so successful in very small YouTuber context, part of it is timing, and then much like my Pocket 6K Pro coverage, I was willing to go a lot further than more popular YouTubers in terms of the amount of information and detail I was providing to help consumers make a choice. And I think both of these videos prove that there's a lot of value in that. Like, some people aren't going to watch a 30-minute YouTube video, but when you're trying to make a decision that will cost you literally thousands of dollars, I don't know about you, but I want to be extremely well informed when I make that choice. It's interesting to note I have made slightly more money from this video than my most popular video. I've earned $119 at the time of recording. And I'm guessing this is to do with the higher level of engagement in terms of the likes and comments. And while $119 is nothing to be sniffed at, this was another video that took over 80 hours to research, write, shoot, and edit. So judging by that metric, this is still not a very good ROI, or return on investment. And then finally we come to a Death in the Family short. For this short, we wanted to test out the DZO Pictor zooms, and wow, they were just so impressive when filming on the Red Gemini. You know, they really took that digital sharpness off and just looked so creamy. I love so much of what we filmed for this eulogy short, and it might be the nicest looking footage we've filmed. It's a testament to having a good location and being lucky with weather, along with Isaac's talents behind the camera. And this is the perfect example of what a cinematic location can add to your shoot. I also liked filming something not in my house for a change, and this particular graveyard is just visually stunning. The stuff we filmed at Magic Hour was so funny to me when you put it into context that this was all over a camera. It's just so pretentious and yet so accurate of us indie filmmakers. We did do some lighting with a tube light for some of the close-ups, but apart from that, it was all natural light. We were definitely going for a bit of a Terrence Malick feel with that stuff, and I loved what we got. Note the Gladiator reference of running the hand across the tall grass. Welcome to the afterlife, 6K, Valhalla beckons. And for audio, we just ran the Rode Wireless Go 2 hidden behind my tie directly into the Red Gemini. What's funny is when I watch this back is I don't know all of my lines, so I have a copy of the script just gaffer taped to the gravestone that I'm standing in front of, and this comes directly from the Marlon Brando school of lazy acting. That's movie magic, kids. Now I should also quickly mention that, as you might see in my videos, I also have Amazon affiliate links, and we can take a look at my affiliate account here, and what you see is I've earned $313 since I became an affiliate in July. So it's not a huge amount, but for those of you looking for film gear, you know, please consider using my links, as everything does help. And I should also give a shout out to those who've supported me by buying me a beer through my support link, and those who have gone out of their way to watch my latest feature film, Older, which is available free on Amazon Prime. I'm very proud of the film. It took me 7 years to complete, and I hope you take the time to have a look at it. You know, help support indie filmmakers so I can make more content for you. So in the 10 months my channel has been on YouTube, and in the 4 months that it's been monetized, exactly how much has this small YouTuber made in total from all revenue streams? At the time of recording, my Google AdSense revenue has generated $403. My affiliate marketing has made me $313. There's maybe an extra $50 from Buy Me a Coffee, so maybe we're actually looking at... Now, to some people that might seem like a fortune, and for others it might seem like a bit of a joke. Wherever you land on your opinion of my income, I think we can all agree that for 10 months worth of uploads, being a small YouTuber is not very financially rewarding. Personally, it's great to use this money to offset some of my shooting costs, but that's about it. And in terms of personal milestones, I think I was more excited to recently cross 10,000 hours of watch time and 100,000 hours of total views on my channel. That felt pretty special to me. And on that note, we come to a close on the year. And I wanted to talk a little bit about 2022. I'm hoping to continue to grow the channel, and I want to develop a bit more content around filmmaking and a bit less content around filmmaking equipment. but we'll see how that goes. I would like to take my audience through some of my shorts and web series and really deconstruct those. Ultimately, I'd like to make a full-blown course with how-to guides on short films, web series, and feature films. But it can be a struggle to allocate time to writing these when I already allocate so much time to making one-off YouTube videos. So for me, the bottleneck is always the editing phase, and I constantly have a backlog of material that needs editing and I don't have the time to complete. And I would love to tell you that my motivations for YouTubing were purely altruistic and being of service to others. But while I get a huge kick out of that, there's also what Han Solo said.
Look, I ain't in this for your revolution, and I'm not in it for you, Princess. I expect to be well paid. I'm in it for the money.
Yes, I want this channel to be profitable and reward my own investment in it. And my biggest hope is that the channel begins to earn enough money for me to hire an editor to support that workflow and take some of the pressure off me. This will mean more content and the ability for me to develop more of those bigger courses and ideas. I will also be looking at podcasting in the new year with some of my fellow indie filmmaking friends and discussing their journey in creating feature films. So that'll be just a new section on the Savage Filmmaker. However, my first and most important goal for 2022 is just to keep going. When I started the channel, I set myself a goal of creating 100 pieces of content before I decided whether I should keep doing it. And this season I've made what I consider 29 pieces of original content, including this one, which means I have 71 videos to go before I can assess if this crazy YouTube journey is worth continuing on. And at this rate, it's gonna take me another 2 years. Oh God. I'll be completely honest, I feel like giving up on my YouTube channel most weeks. When I'm in the middle of another 20-hour edit, I am constantly asking myself, what's the point? Will anyone care? And how can I possibly justify this time suck? And it's in those moments that the feedback that I get from you guys is what bolsters me and keeps me going. Someone telling me how much they appreciated a certain video, or how helpful they found something, or if they laughed at something, or just seeing regular subscribers coming back to check out the next video and interact with me. That's what picks me up and makes me continue on. So thank you. You are the reason I'm editing this together in the middle of the night on Christmas Eve. I'm incredibly humbled and grateful for your support, and I sincerely hope you'll keep watching the Savage Filmmaker in season 2. Maybe chuck on the old notification button so you get that notification to know when I upload the next one, even if you are subscribed. And if you want to support me and you've made it this far, you probably already know the deal. Give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, use my affiliate links when you make a purchase, watch my film on Amazon, and if you haven't already, spread the word about the channel. As always, I am the Savage Filmmaker, and I'll see you when I see you. Thank you, and Merry Christmas. I feel like I've got a sneeze coming on. You know how you got to sneeze, and it's just tickling like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make you sneeze. I'm gonna make you sneeze in the middle of this take. I'm gonna do it. And then you go, huh? And then you go, no, I'm not gonna make you do it. I was just kidding. And then a couple seconds later, that's what's happening to me the whole time that I'm doing this video. Don't worry about it. We're just gonna soldier on. I mean, it is midnight on Christmas Eve. Alrighty.